Welcome back, everybody, to the first case in the Apollo Justice Trilogy. When we last left off, I'm pretty sure we're nearing the midway of the case, and our life is not looking so good. So we're going to be extra careful. I couldn't figure it out last time, so I took a long break, and now I might be able to get it. A fifth ace? Olga. Da. It should not exist, no? I still remember both hands very well. Mr. Smith's hand has 3 aces, and Mr. Wright's 2. Judge, well, where did this card come from then? Excuse me, I'm just so sleepy today. It's so cloudy and gloomy outside. It looks like it's going to storm. Ugh, it's affecting me. Payne, perhaps we should ask the defendant that very question. Adding cards to a deck is no less serious a taboo than forging evidence in the court of law. Now, perhaps it's time for you to say something, Justice. You bet I have no intention of staying quiet. Okay. So then it has to be this one. Let's look through our details again. So where can we clearly see the cards? We can kind of see the cards, but not as clearly. It's probably the other one. Maybe we just needed this clarification and then we could present this. Objection! Oh, sounds like we did. Good. Apollo, it appears the witness is mistaken. Olga, mistaken? But my name? Apollo, look, this piece of evidence clearly contradicts what you said in your testimony. Judge, that's the photo of the chips, is it not? Christoph, Justice, perhaps you ought to explain your point in a way that the judge can comprehend. In other words, use your finger to point out your point. Yes, please point out the contradiction in this photo. Okay. Hold on 1 second. Wait. Did she say that... She said that... It wasn't about the aces. It's about the kings, right? I think it's there. No, I think I'm wrong. Oh, wait. Mr. Early, in your testimony, you made the following claim. Mr. Smith's hand has 3 aces. Ah, but as you can clearly see, the victim's hand held only 2 aces. I wasn't sure if she said aces or kings. Eek! Oh, Payne. You do sound like a weasel. Well, maybe the witness was simply confused. Perhaps it was the defendant's hand that held the 3rd ace in question. Apollo, take another look at the evidence. As you can see, the defendant also had 2 aces in his hand. Where is this 5th ace? I see cheating all right, and it's going on right here in this courtroom. I love the jury's non-faces, just... Judge, 2 aces in each player's hand does make 4 aces total. Hardly proof of cheating. Olga, please, wait. It is true, I have seen it. The 5th ace. There was cheating, I swear to you. That's odd. She must be lying, yet she's the most sincere I've seen her all day. Christoph, you're right to trust your instincts. Apollo, Mr. Gavin? Christoph, who knows what lies in store for us in the trial ahead? Your Honor, if I may, I have a suggestion. What might that be, Mr. Gavin? If you don't mind, perhaps we might examine the actual cards? The cards? Mr. Payne? Yes. The players' hands that night were set aside as evidence, were they not? The defense would like to request that the cards be shown to the court. Very well. The prosecution will submit this evidence. Which will you examine, the victim's cards or the defendant's cards? If these cards don't prove cheating was going on, nothing will. Now, which of these hands is more suspicious? The defendant's hands. Let's start with Mr. Wright's. The defense would like to view the defendant's hand. Very well. Mr. Payne, your evidence? Yes, Your Honor. Okay. Well, now, let's see what we have here. Okay. Let's inspect. Let's figure this out. Okay, they look legitimate. The card backs are red. For some reason, I thought that they were using blue cards in that final hand. Didn't you, Mr. Gavin? Huh? Oh, Which was it now? Yeah, because Gavin kept making this, like, poetic whatevers. Right, sir. Oh, I already... Oh, well, I guess I jumped the gun. And still tutorial time. Yep. I did that. Sorry, Bubba. Well, has the defense found anything they would like to share with the court? Not unless you count utter confusion. Perhaps you'd best examine the victim's cards next. Of course. Okay. Yeah, let's check out the other hand. Apollo, Your Honor, the defense requests time to examine Mr. Smith's hand. Granted, but make it quick, Mr. Justice. Okay, let's go, babes. I need a drink. Hold on. Gonna eat my fingers. Don't worry, justice is always swift. Oh, very smooth, Apollo. Okay, 2 aces, 3 kings. Aha! What? Your Honor, look at this. One of the victim's cards, the back is a different color. That's impossible. But I put that card in Wright's hand. Ooh. Olga. You cheating, babes? What was that, Mrs. Orley? Olga. No. Niet. I merely said, da, I have eek. Kristoff, Your Honor. Judge, Mr. Gavin, yes. Kristoff, tell me, what is the easiest way to cheat at poker? Judge, to cheat? Kristoff, I'll tell you. One merely needs a friend, comrade, shall we say. The dealer. Judge, Apollo, wait, so you mean... This witness, Miss Orley, she's the cheater. Professional, I'd wager. Yeah. I always love it when you catch the criminals and they freak out in some way that's so similar to like their natural like actions. Focus, Justice. Time to take advantage of her. I mean, her mistake. Definitely not advantage of her. No. Your Honor, please recall the testimony we just heard. That's impossible, but I put that card in Wright's hand. And her accent seemed to have vanished. Miss Olga Orley conspired to cheat not with my client, but with the victim, Mr. Shady Smith. And their names usually kind of match too. Not only did she cheat, she cheated poorly. Therefore, it's not hard to imagine an altercation between her and the victim. Judge, wait, you don't mean the defense isn't accusing the witness, Miss Olga... Oh my god, Olga Orley, are you? Oh my gosh, sorry. Apollo, time for justice. There were 3 people in the room at the time of the incident. And if Mr. Wright isn't guilty, that means I am. The defense accuses the witness, Mrs. Olga Orley, of murder. But she's still so cute. Can someone that cute really be a murderer? Judge, Mr. Payne, where is your witness, Mrs. Olga Orley? Pain. It appears she has lost consciousness, Your Honor. Mr. Justice? Your Honor, it seems you've presented a new possibility to the court, one suggesting a connection between the witness and the victim, Mr. Smith. Apollo, and that means this court cannot pronounce a verdict for the defendant at this time. Yay! We kind of gave ourselves some leeway. I think that's really what we needed. I see no point in prolonging the trial this day. The prosecution will need to make further inquiries.
Objection!
I knew I recognized that voice. Mr. Wright? Phoenix, you can't end the trial here, Your Honor. Not yet. Payne, what nonsense is the defendant spewing now? Phoenix, think. One of the cards had a different colored back. Don't you wonder what it means? Payne, what are you doing, Mr. Wright? Raising objections right when you're about to get off the hook? Ridiculous. Mr. Payne, you of all people should know. Mr. Wright has a talent for the ridiculous. Kind of. Judge, perhaps we should get to the bottom of things. Let's clear up the facts about the game that fateful night. Excuse me. Phoenix, as was said before, we alternated between two decks of cards that night. That was said before. The Phoenix. The two decks at the club have different colored backs, blue and red. One color per deck. Apollo, why use different colored backs? Phoenix, if we use the same color, the two decks might get mixed. Apollo, you used different colors and they still got mixed up. Phoenix, use the red deck for the last game. Judge, I see, but that's odd. For some reason, I have this impression that you were using the blue cards. Apollo, yeah, me too. I'm sure someone said something about blue cards. Kristoff, he totally did. Payne, whatever, in the end, one card of the wrong color got into the mix, which means there was cheating. Yes, a card slipped into the deck would seem to indicate cheating. Yet this card raises two serious questions. Apollo? Apollo, yes? Phoenix, let's consider the first question, shall we? Think. In the last game, when was the card swapped? When? There are three broad possibilities here. It could have been swapped before the murder, during the murder, or after the murder. Payne, well, yeah, thanks for the news bulletin, Mr. Wright. Of course it was swapped. Oh? Phoenix, oh? It might be as simple as you think, Mr. Payne, or it might not be. I'd like to hear what Apollo thinks first. When do you think the cards were swapped? When was the card swapped into the deck? I'm trying to think. So if it was before the murder, during the murder, or after the murder. Well, he couldn't do it during. I guess before. Apollo, well, it must have happened before the murder. Judge, you mean during the game? Phoenix, I wonder. Apollo, huh? Why? Phoenix, think. When you're playing poker, which side of the cards face your opponent? The back. Yeah, so I'm wrong. Okay. Let me think about this some more. It would have to be after. Perhaps it happened after the murder. What's that? Ridiculous. What's the point of cheating after the hands have been shown? That's silly. Yes, but tell me, how do you swap cards during the game? I'll take silly over impossible. Payne, take it from me, son. There's a lot of silly in this world, but very little impossible. I like that. It's a good phrase. Apollo? Oh, even when the backs of the cards are different color? If you pull that during the game, you'd be caught in no time. Quite true. That would mean that the blue card in question was swapped after the hands were shown, after the murder, which is why she thought that there were 3 aces. Payne, okay, this is going past silly and straight on to crazy. Ask again, what's the point of cheating after the game's over? Who would do that? Phoenix, who indeed? That's one of the mysteries before us. Judge, there's another? Phoenix. Yes, a simple yet decisive question must be asked. Who swapped the red card for a blue card? Who? Kristoff, the game and murder is done. The victim is dead. Only two remain in the room, alive. That is, the defendant, Phoenix Wright, and our witness, Olga Orly. Okay, so who is it that swapped the red card for a blue? I want to say somebody else, but if there were only the two... The one who swapped the cards isn't Mr. Wright, of course, and, well, doesn't seem like it could have been Olga Orly either. What are you suggesting? Yeah, I know it's not logical. Okay, he wants me to name Olga, but she was the one who dealt the cards, right? I just can't believe she would make the mistake of swapping the wrong color card. Judge, and if the card was swapped during the game, it'd be obvious. Phoenix. Heh. Something you'd like to share with the court, Mr. Wright? Phoenix. Oh, my apologies, Your Honor. I was just thinking how much fun this all is. Pain. Fun? How about confusing? I have no idea what the defense is claiming, Your Honor. If the one who swapped the card wasn't the defendant and wasn't Miss Orly, then who was it? Apollo, yeah, well, that is the question, isn't it? Phoenix, precisely. Apollo, huh? Phoenix, I believe we're about to see this case take a new direction. Judge, a new direction? Phoenix, we'll find that, indeed, after the murder, someone swapped one of the cards in the victim's hand. And that someone made two critical mistakes. Kristoff, I'm sure you're going to tell us that the first was swapping the wrong color card. Phoenix, because the one who did the swap didn't know two colors of cards are being used. The other mistake was the number on the card. Right, it should have been an ace. With a king. Phoenix, I'm sure whoever swapped it wasn't expecting there to be a fifth ace at all. All they knew was that the game had been won with a full house, so they picked up a king from the table and swapped it in. Pain, but there's one problem. According to our case record, this person doesn't exist. Phoenix, true, not until now, but you have to admit the possibility of a fourth person. Yeah, because didn't they say that that restaurant's kind of like a secret hideaway? Like Prohibition style? So it's more than a possibility. There was someone else there that night at the scene of the crime. And Kristoff said he had dinner with Phoenix. Right? Right. I believe the judge spoke truthfully earlier. You do make trials ridiculous, Mr. Wright. This trial is proceeded on one central assumption, namely that at the time of the incident there were only 3 people in that room. I believe this new evidence, shall we say, overturns that assumption. Judge, the problem is that you chose to conceal this information from the court. Phoenix, I suppose that is a problem. Yes. Judge, court is adjourned for a brief recess. Mr. Gavin, I'll see you in my chambers during this recess. Kristoff, certainly, Your Honor. Judge, very well. The trial will resume in 20 minutes. All right, I'll see you guys later. No, it's not break time for me either. April 20th, 11:52 a.m., District Court, Defendant Lobby number 3. That's supposed to be the judge in that painting. I don't freaking know. Kristoff, that was quite unexpected, Mr. Wright. To suddenly claim there's another person at the scene of the crime like that. I must ask, is it the truth? Phoenix, well now, I think you would know the answer to that. Ooh. Kristoff, being mysterious, are we? Sadly, I have no time for mysteries. I'd only ask that you leave the defending to your defense in the future. Otherwise, I cannot guarantee the outcome. Phoenix, I see you haven't mellowed out one bit, Kristoff. Kristoff, Justice. The judge has summoned me to his chamber, so carry on without me. Okay. Phoenix, you did well, Apollo. Can I ask you something? Phoenix, sure. Apollo, that locket you wear, is that really yours, Mr. Wright? Phoenix, you're wondering about the victim's disappearing locket. Here, you can take a look at it. That's a picture of my daughter in there. Ooh, she's a cutie too. Apollo, I'm just surprised to hear you had a daughter. Most people are. Perhaps you'll meet her one of these days. Apollo, one more question. The one who cheated that night, was it you? Phoenix, what do you think? Huh? Phoenix, you know what happened 7 years ago? What I did. It's not unreasonable for you to think I might cheat. Apollo, I never, honest, but it's odd that he managed to go undefeated for 7 whole years. Want to know something? Says Phoenix. There's only one game where you can be dealt bad cards all night and still win. Poker. Eh? You see, poker is all about reading your opponent. In that way, it's a lot like a court case. Poker is like a trial at law? Trial law? Phoenix, figure out what your opponent is thinking and you win. Well, says Apollo. Yeah, but that's harder than it sounds. I think not, Phoenix said. Apollo. Phoenix. Try as they might to conceal it, everyone reveals their true thoughts in the end. Their body language can become a valuable source of information. Apollo, you're kidding me. Phoenix, that witness, for instance, Mrs. Orley? Ooh, she's scratching her head. She would touch the back of her neck during certain parts of her testimony. Did you notice? Apollo, no. Phoenix, words, habits, twitches, it's all information for the reading. That's the secret to winning, Apollo. Someone taught me, and now I pass the secret on to you. Apollo, but I'm not worthy. We're not worthy. I mean, there's no way I'll pick up on these signals. Phoenix, no, you can do it. Huh? You just don't know it yet. Apollo, what's he talking about? Phoenix, but you will. Soon. Ah, almost forgot. One more thing. About this case, you should know I haven't told the truth to anyone yet. What? I have my reasons, of course. All shall be revealed. And Apollo, I need you to be there, defending me. I need your power. Apollo, my, power? I had no idea my cords of steel were that special. I don't think he's talking about that. Okay. Phoenix, it's time. The real trial begins now. Do your best. Okay. To be continued. So we're going to save our game and keep going. Because this is the halfway point of the first game, or the first trial. Normally there's, I think, 3 or 4 parts to a case, but because this is like the tutorial round, it's a bit shorter. What? April, wait, what? The next chapter, what? I don't know. Anyway, the court will now reconvene. Has our witness, Mrs. Olga Orley, recovered? Yes, Your Honor. Well, she's regained consciousness. Kristoff, perhaps we can hear her version of the events again. Payne, that's the thing, you see, she's quite fatigued. Judge, you're looking a bit fatigued yourself, Mr. Payne. Kristoff, sadly, fatigue is insufficient grounds for refusing to testify or prosecute. Agreed. The defense who would like to request that Mrs. Orley take the stand. Okay, let's get her back up here and see if we can use our powers, not our cords of steel, but our powers, to see her little ticks. Ooh. Would you mind repeating your name? He said, or perhaps you'd rather admit that you're a poor liar and poorer loser. Oh, not. Ooh. Name's Olga Orley. That's the truth. I'm a pro dealer. People call me Olga Quickfingers Orley. Ah, so the Russian bit was just an act. Want to know something else? I'm not really Russian, and my last name sounds like, oh, really? There, that's the truth. I hope you're satisfied. Wow. She's sassy now. Not as cute, more sassy. Apollo, witness, you will tell the court what you were really up to that night. Fine, I'll talk. We had a plan, Shay. Judge, let me remind you that you are currently under oath. Any further fabrications will have serious consequences. Fine. Like I said, I'm a pro. That guy Smith hired me to do what I do best. I was planted at the Borscht Bowl Club several days prior to the night of the game, as a waitress. Apollo, so you were in cahoots with the victim. Not that he needed my help. Smith is a well-known poker player in some circles. But winning wasn't the main purpose of this game. It was about destroying a legend, the unbeatable Phoenix Wright. The plan was simple, elegant, really. You see, we set up a trap of sorts. I was to plant a card in Wright's pocket beforehand, and then deal 5 aces during one of their games. When their hands were revealed, Smith would call him out and search Wright. He would then pull out the planted card and the trap would snap shut. I'm guessing this is shady. You swap the cards. Exposed as a cheater and losing on top of it, they would have made a great double play. Just like that, the legend would be dashed to pieces. Judge. Indeed, getting caught red-handed at cheating would cast doubt on all his prior wins. Olga, a 7-year legend destroyed by one little card. That was the plan. Oh really, Orly? How droll. Kristoff said. But it appears you made quite the mistake. Judge, a mistake? Kristoff, I agree the trap was elegant. Yet what happened to that planted card? Apollo, hey! That's right. Olga, he's lucky, I'll give him that. You'd have to be to slip free from a trap laid by Olga Quick Fingers Orly. Oh really? The witness would be much cuter if she dispensed with the evil mastermind shtick. Cute? Who wants to be cute? I'm not cute. I'm bad. You hear me? Bad. She looks like a pirate. Judge, when you're through being bad, perhaps you could testify to the court. Tell us about this trap and how it was sprung. Spring trap? No, definitely no. That night, I planted the card and Wright lost the hand, just like he was supposed to. Then Smith searched him. But the planted card was gone. The trap failed. The next moment, Wright picked up a bottle and swung it. It wasn't me who hit Smith. It was that no-good cheating defendant. Coming from a cheater? Okay. A surprisingly frank testimony that still leaves us mostly in the dark. The trap was perfect, I tell you. Perfect! That rotten cheater hadn't messed it up. Well, the testimony for now is its worth. For what it's worth is all yours, Mr. Justice. With witnesses like her, who needs criminals? Agreed. And with defendants like Mr. Wright, who needs prosecutors? Clever. Okay. That night I planted the card like I was supposed to. We're just gonna press everything. This planted card... Which card was it, exactly? The trump card. The 5 of hearts. Let me guess. Mr. Wright was to have switched the 5 with the ace to make a full house. At least, that's what you were going to accuse him of doing, thereby ruining his legend. I slid it into Wright's pocket. When was this? Why, before the match, of course. While he was eating. At the Borscht Bowl Club, we serve borscht and suckers. Judge, remind me to never go there. Olga, of course, the card was to make its grand debut during the game. Like a good borscht, a good plot must be cooked up early and allowed to thicken. Okay. And Wright lost the hand, just like he was supposed to, then Smith searched him. Oh, my health is all back. Good. So everything went according to plan. Exactly. The 5th ace came up, so it's obvious the switch went off without a hitch. Once the extra card was found in his pocket, Wright would be forever known as a cheat and a fraud. Judge, there are worse things to be known as, I suppose. Apollo, tell us what happened with the search. The planted card was gone. The trap failed. The trap failed. Oh, Apollo and your spiky hair. The card disappeared? Olga, yeah, my trump card, the 5 of hearts. Gone, without a trace. Poof, zippo. We searched every nook and cranny, even inside his cute little hat. His hat is pretty cute. Apollo, but the card was nowhere to be found. Is this correct? Never in my long, storied career, never has Quick Fingers Orly been so readily dumped. Or no, duped. Oh, Judge. Oh, really? So, what did happen to that 5 of hearts? Olga, don't look at me. Why don't you ask that cheating, lying, two-faced defendant? Again, coming from her, that's rich. Apollo, so the 5 of hearts is still missing in action. Her hand is touching the back of her head. Up the next moment, Wright picked up a bottle and swung it. Press. Wait, isn't that a little odd? What's odd? You searched Mr. Wright thoroughly and found nothing? Which means he didn't cheat, which means he had no reason to strike the victim. Ooh, here it is. What was that just now? I sensed something. Something wrong, Mr. Justice? Apollo. No, nothing, Your Honor. What to do? Should I press her a little harder? Yes. Mrs. O'Reilly, you're hiding something. Olga, what are you talking about? You, me, Quick Fingers Orly hide something? Ooh, she's freaking out. Payne, the defense will refrain from baseless accusations. Apollo, I have one question for the witness then. You say you saw the moment the defendant hit the victim. Is this true? Olga, of course it's true. I did see it, honest. I saw it when Wright hit him. With my own eyes, I saw it. What's this weird vibe I'm getting? Phoenix, that witness for an instant, Mrs. Orley, she would touch the back of her neck during certain parts of her testimony. Did you notice? Here it is. Apollo touching her neck, was it? Ooh! Okay, what is this? Yeah, Apollo, what's going on? Yeah, this is weird. This sensation, it's coming into focus. There, that twitch, it's so clear. Oh, right here. It's like I could perceive her habit like I couldn't before. Perceive. Miss Orley, perhaps you are unaware of this yourself. Unaware of what? Apollo, whenever you get to a certain part of your testimony, you touch the back of your neck with your left hand. So what? Kristoff, what indeed, Justice? I hadn't noticed anything of the sort. When she says that part of the testimony, she's subconsciously recalling something. Her body reacts to the memory and she touches her neck. I'm sure of it. Payne, a memory? Would someone care to explain what he's babbling about? This is highly unusual, but let's ask the defense. You claim the witness is remembering something. Maybe you have evidence of this memory to show us. Her habit is scratching her neck whenever she talks about the moment of the crime. So what would remind her most of the moment of the crime? Miss Orley, whenever you recall the crime that night, you scratch your neck. I have noticed it happens when you think about the moment of the crime. There must be some reason behind this habit of yours. I believe the weapon that left an inerasable impression on your neck is this. I mean, it would have to be the bottle. Right? I mean... Well, let's try it. Whenever she talks about the moment of the crime, she touches her neck. It reminds us more of that moment than this bottle, the murder weapon. But something doesn't fit. If you were only the witness to the crime, why would that make you touch your neck like you're in pain? Pain. What's he talking about now? Apollo. It was Mr. Smith, the victim, who was hit. Not you. Olga, maybe Shady Smith hit her because she fucked up. Excuse my language, because she messed up. Pain. This is a cross-examination, not a cross-wild conjecture. The witness habits, they're completely irrelevant. Kristoff. Justice, I'll admit I'm a bit confused myself. This is certainly a unique cross-examination. I'll explain later, said Apollo. Just trust me now. Now's our only chance to break her. Miss Orley, please testify in detail about the moment of the crime. The very moment. Yeah, I'm knowing nothing. Oh, she can't go back to that shit. We know you're not Russian. The witness will testify, please. Now. Whoosh. Bah, fine. He's the one who did it. I didn't let him out of my sight until the cops were gone. That sounds a little odd to me. Apollo, you seem uneasy. Olga, you try standing up here. Apollo, her eyes are darting all over the place. I must be getting warm. Tell me, after the crime, what was the defendant like? Olga, well, he must have been stunned by the weight of his crime. He sat in a daze at that table until the cops came. Kristoff, intriguing. I believe you've gotten all the testimony you're going to get out of this witness. So what do you think about her testimony? There's a big flaw. Her testimony is flawed. It's basically bogus. It contradicts the evidence. So let's look at this evidence since we're here. She said she kept an eye on the defendant until the police came. But I'm pretty sure, yeah, used by the defendant to notify the police from the restaurant's first floor. So unless she like stalked him around the restaurant, there was no way she could have kept her eye on him in that room. Judge, well, show us this evidence, Mr. Justice. This evidence that you claim contradicts the testimony. She didn't let him out of her sight until the cops got there. I know there's some evidence that contradicts that. Let's try this. Pretty sure I'm right, though. Yes! The health bar fades away, and I'm like, I'm in the clear. Yes, please. Apollo, Miss Orley, we have a record here that clearly contradicts what you said. It states that the police were alerted by a report from the dependent. Olga, and we know that the defendant left the room, climbed the stairs, and made that phone call from the first floor of the Borscht Bowl Club. So, explain how you kept your eyes on the defendant when he left the room entirely. Nope. Just taking selfies now, are we? Okay. Whatever works. Olga, the man who picked up a bottle and swung it that night wasn't the defendant. It was the victim. More than likely. Yeah, this is the scene from the beginning. Huh. Showdown time. You dirty cheat. Check his pockets. Now. It's gone. The card's gone. You lose. Arrgh. Just then, Smith grabbed the bottle from next to right, and he hit me. You, some master of cheating you turned out to be. Oh, so it's shady. Eek! When I came to, the victim was already dead. Is that it? Said the judge. That's why I couldn't reveal who I really was. If it came out that I was in league with Smith, I'd be a suspect for sure. Well, where does this leave us? Pain, madness, this is madness, I'm dreaming. It must have been me who was hit with the bottle, and I'm imagining all of this. Judge, it appears our prosecution is at his wit's end, and frankly, I can't blame him. Mr. Gavin, what do you think about this turn of events? Kristoff. I believe that, as the defense in this case, we are compelled to call Miss Orley a big, fat liar. What? 3 were in that room the night of the murder, the defendant, the victim, and her. And she has a motive. A motive? Her plot foiled, the witness got into an argument with her client, Mr. Smith. And the denouement of that argument was murder. What? Olga, I didn't. I'm no killer. It's a trap. Someone's trying to frame me. What tangled webs we weave when we practice to deceive. So tangled we catch ourselves in the process. Such a hasty conclusion. It's not like you, Kristoff Gavin. Kristoff, what are you saying? Phoenix, why not consider the other possibility? That there was another person in the room at the time of the murder. Right, like Mr. Wright was saying before recess. He makes it sound like it's school. Phoenix, a single card was swapped into the victim's hand after the murder. And the one who swapped the card didn't know 2 colors of cards were being used. A 4th person. Pain. Ha, this theory again, your 4th person doesn't exist. Phoenix, indeed. That's why I decided to bring this case to court. Here, where there's no escape and no chance for deception. The perfect place to catch the real criminal. The real criminal? And we're in luck. A clue to the real criminal's identity was kindly provided for us. And right at the beginning of the trial, no less. What? Apollo, perhaps you know what I'm talking about. Sorry. Remember what I said. The 4th person who swapped the cards made one critical error. He or she wasn't considering the color on the backs of the cards. Right. But how could such an obvious mistake occur? The cards used for the last game were red. Yet, there's one person here, in our court, who thought those cards were blue. Yeah, I had that impression too, but why? Well, Apollo, I think you can figure out who it was. Yeah, it was Kristoff Gavin, because he was doing this poetic thing about blue waves and flames and stuff. Boy, no one really understood what he was talking about. Let's hear what the defense has to say. Who was it? Who thought the cards used in the final game were blue? Has to be. As I expected. Your eyes and ears are as sharp as your hair. I was right. Kristoff Gavin, you were the 4th person that night. Apollo, but of course Mr. Gavin knows the color of the cards. How would he? As you can see, the photo of the crime scene is black and white. Can't tell which of the cards are blue, the ones on the floor or the table. But look, you can see the colors in this photo. Yes, but when he said the cards were blue, it was well before his evidence came to light. It is true that the defendant was engaged in a game of poker with the victim. It was only that, a game, in the purest sense. A competition, Your Honor. Competition? Yes, a test of wits, a silent clash of passions, only the cards, their backs wreathed in blued flame, know its final outcome. Yeah, he said it way at the beginning. Well, Kristoff? Mr. Gavin? Is something the matter? No, nothing. Excuse me, it was just so sudden. Right, you aren't seriously accusing me, are you? Oh, Kristoff? You know even I'd never take a joke this far. Ooh. So-called friends. Oh my god, Wright is in flip-flops? I don't know if they'll show us back again, but he's in flip-flops. Pain. This has gone beyond ridiculous, beyond dumb, this is insanity. The defendant accusing his own defense attorney of murder. I assure you, I'm quite sane. But what possible connection could Mr. Gavin have to the victim? Phoenix, I wasn't aware that I had a connection to Mr. Smith either. Yes, but Mr. Gavin and the victim have never even met. Well, says Phoenix, what if they have? There is a possibility, after all. They may have met that night before the game started. Judge, what are you suggesting? Apollo, is this the truth Mr. Wright was staying silent about? Well, only one thing to do. Mr. Wright, the defense would like to request that you testify to the court. The defense would like to question us. What? Ooh, Kristoff, testimonies must relate to the case. How could anything happen before that game of poker be related? I'm not sure I follow, Mr. Gavin. Kristoff, as I explained before, the defense believes that Miss Orley... Am I to assume you speak for Mr. Justice in this? He is the defense, not you. Mr. Justice, the matter of Mr. Wright's testimony is up to you. Oh, okay. Does the court, in your opinion, need to hear Mr. Wright's testimony? Yes. Because I trust Wright way more than Kristoff. I intend to see this through. The defense would like to request that Mr. Wright testify to the court. Aid to Justice? You would betray me, your teacher? Okay, Caesar. I'm sorry, Mr. Gavin. This isn't about loyalty. This is about the truth. Very well. The defendant, Mr. Wright, will take the stand, please. Here we go. Appetite before murder. Let's see here. That evening, Kristoff and I had dinner. We sat at the table in this photograph. Shady Smith walked in 5 minutes after Kristoff left. When the trap failed, Smith hit the waitress. The girl was knocked out cold and Smith was uncontrollable. I left to call the police. When I returned, he was dead, blood streaming from a cut on his forehead. That's when I made another phone call to defense attorney Gavin. Interesting. Judge, you were at the Borscht Bowl Club the night of the murder, Gavin? Phoenix, I dine with him rather frequently. Ooh, Payne. And he talked to the defendant on the phone directly after the murder? Phoenix, quite against my will, I had become involved in a murder. I thought I might be in need of a lawyer, so I called him. Kristoff, you were planning this all along, weren't you, right? Just because you wanted to drag me into your little murder trial. Phoenix, the only thing I want is the truth. As I did back then and now. Kristoff, I thought my office was doing you a favor when we took on your defense. It appears that I was wrong. I don't know. What do you guys think? It is shady. It's all very shady, lady. Judge, very well. The defense may cross-examine the witness. Justice. Sir, he's lying, and you're going to expose him. Okay. Even though this is my case, not yours. Why can't I have a normal trial? For his first one, too, yeah. But nothing's really normal with Phoenix. No. Let's just press everything, as usual. You had dinner with Mr. Gavin? Yes, he dines with me at the Borscht Bowl Club quite frequently. We were enjoying a usual dinner at our usual spot, as usual. Usual. I always eat at the table closest to the piano. I see. Where Mr. Smith was sitting. So the plates and such on the table were from your dinner? Indeed, the remnants of my meal with Kristoff. He dined for 2 hours, then Kristoff left. That seems like an excessive amount of time to eat. Maybe I'm just a fast eater. Then Kristoff left after that. Shady Smith walked in 5 minutes later. Okay, so let's... 5 minutes? So the two of them could have passed in the restaurant during that time. That would have been a fateful encounter, to be sure. Oh, Mr. Wright. What was it you said? Kristoff Gavin and Shady Smith may have met? I believe I did say that. Here I was all nervous about this meeting. And now we hear they just passed in the hall. It does seem a little weak as a pretense for murder. Oh, it would be, if that were all that really happened. Phoenix, that glazed look on your face. When the trap failed, Smith hit the waitress. About this failed trap. This is the same trap that Miss Olga Orley mentioned? Olga. The plan was simple, elegant, really. You see, we set up a trap of sorts. It was to plant a card in Wright's pocket beforehand, and then deal 5 aces during one of their games. When their hands were revealed, Smith would call him out and search Wright. He would then pull out the planted card, and the trap would snap shut. You swap the cards? Just like that, the legend would be dashed to pieces. Phoenix. Yes, a harmless prank in essence. It was by a quirk of fate that I happened to discover it. Pain. A quirk? Phoenix. I happened to put my hand in my pocket and found a card. The card you planted. Yes, I sunk a peek at it and found it was the 5 of hearts. I had a feeling something might happen, so I disposed of the card. Before the game. Disposed? Where? There was an empty bottle of grape juice I had been drinking right beside me. I threw the card inside the bottle. An empty bottle of grape juice? The murder weapon? I didn't see anything in it, though. Yes, I rolled it up and shoved it in. The colored glass makes it hard to see. Battle of... Wait. There ain't nothing in here, bubs. Apollo, the bottle is completely empty. Okay. Judge, that sounds like a terrific drama. Apollo, a card inside the murder weapon? That's strange. Did the police miss it in their investigation? Maybe I'll take a look. I just did. Judge, Mr. Wright, the poker head of court number 3, approves this battle of wits. Please revise your testimony with this new information. I discovered the trap during the game and disposed of the card in the bottle. Well, let's look at it one more time. Because I still do not see a ding-dang thing. So we're going to present it, I guess. Mr. Wright, if I may? Phoenix. Yes? Apollo, I've examined the bottle and I don't see any card in here. No? Judge, what? Mr. Wright? Surely the isn't all you have to say for yourself. Phoenix, I can't say that I know what happened to the card. I did put it in that bottle, however. Huh. Kristoff, perhaps a 5th person came and took it out. Oh, and a 6th person could have helped. Now he's just being a jerk. Yeah, exactly. The judge is like, Kristoff, he's your client. Why are you antagonizing him? Payne, I won't have you disparaging our investigation either. We looked inside that bottle, there was nothing. So what's going on? Is Mr. Wright hoodwinking us again? Or did the card just disappear? Maybe he's a magician. Judge, in any case, please continue the cross-examination. I'm afraid decisive contradictions call for decisive evidence. Oh. Push him harder, Justice. Break him. It's just you and the witness in the ring. Go for the KO. Why do I get the feeling we're not on our client's side anymore? Yeah. Okay. Okay, so the girl was knocked out cold. Yeah, okay. The girl was knocked out cold and Smith was uncontrollable. You made the call to the police from the 1st floor of the restaurant. Correct? Exactly. Cell phones don't get a signal down in the hideout. Was anyone else on the 1st floor at that time? No. Okay. So they're in the darkened restaurant. I called the cops. After making the call, I returned to the hideout. It didn't seem right to leave the injured waitress alone. When I returned, he was dead, blood streaming from a cut on his forehead. And when you returned, the victim was already dead. Yes. I'll admit, said Phoenix, I was a little startled when I walked in. He was bleeding from his forehead after all. I guess I'd be startled too if I walked in on a scene like that. That's when I made another phone call to defense attorney Gavin. Apollo, could you explain why you called Mr. Gavin? Phoenix, I'd obviously gotten involved in a rather sticky affair, and I figured Kristoff's law offices would give me a friend rate for my defense fees. Hehe. Kristoff, glad to hear you intend to pay. Phoenix, oh, I'll pay in full. It was I who got you involved, after all. Kristoff, you may find the price of your defense quite high, my good friend. Quite high. Ooh. You know what you have to do? He's lying. Okay. So we've covered everything. What's Mr. Wright trying to tell me with his testimony? The truth has to be in there somewhere. Okay, that evening, Kristoff and I had dinner. We sat at the table in the photograph. I actually want to look at our clues. Okay, there doesn't seem to be anything with the phone. This might be important. Wait. Wait, when he came back, it was like this, wasn't it? So how would he have seen the blood on his forehead? Right? No. Cut on his forehead, present. I think we got it. Yes! Mr. Wright, if I may. Phoenix, yes? Apollo, take a look at this photograph of the crime scene. See the victim here? He's wearing a hat. I wouldn't think you could see blood on his forehead. Phoenix, good point. Kristoff, justice. Next time you point out an inconsistency, put a little more oomph into it. But he was told not to yell. His cords of steel, my god. Judge, Mr. Wright, can you explain this to the court? Phoenix, I forgot to mention something. I was the one who put that hat on his head. Apollo, eh? You? You put the hat on the dead man's head. Phoenix, he wore it through our entire poker game. After calling the police, when I returned to the scene, his head was in full view. Shining bright. Just like in this photograph. And I picked his hat up off the floor and put it on his head. Payne, why would you do such a thing like that? Phoenix, all I can say is, I'm sorry, but that's the only thing I touched at the crime scene. So, Miss Orley didn't see it. It being the victim's, his head. Phoenix, I think not. She was out cold. I believe she was the only one who witnessed his head. Kristoff, here we go again. Mr. Gavin? Pardon. It just seems that our client is determined to lie his way through this case. Judge, He's still our client, yeah. I believe that's enough of that. This witness's testimony is more like a travesty. It's riddled with lies. I'm beginning to see how you came to lose your attorney's badge 7 years ago. Phoenix, well, you certainly have a unique way of treating your clients, Kristoff. I never knew. Kristoff, I believe it was you who threw the first stone. Kinda was. Apollo, Mr. Wright, if you had intended to ever tell the truth about this case, it's now or never. Phoenix, don't be misled. I haven't told a single lie here. Eh? When I noticed the trap, I put the card in the bottle to dispose of it. And when I put the hat on the victim's head, let's just say I had a reason for doing that as well. A reason? That reason is right here. Your cell phone. That night, recall that I spoke with defense attorney Gavin after calling the police. Just in case I recorded our conversation. Kristoff, what's this? Phoenix, now that we're all here, I see no reason why I shouldn't play it back for the court. Oh boy, here we go. Phoenix, Kristoff, I seem to be in a bit of trouble. What's this? Game not going well? Something like that. That gentleman who challenged you, he turned out to be good? He turned out to be dead. Someone hit him hard. You mean someone cracked that flawless bone china plate? Ooh, he knew he was bald. It wasn't you, was it? Yeah. If he wore the hat the entire time, how would Kristoff know he was bald? Please, the cops should be here any minute. I'm in your hands, should it come to that. Yep. It had to be Kristoff then, right? A kind of porcelain, very smooth and very shiny. Not plate, but pate. I believe he was referring to a certain gentleman's balding forehead. The court appreciates the defendant's discretion in not indicating my forehead. Something's not right about that phone call. So after Mr. Gavin ate dinner with you, he left the Borscht Bowl Club? Phoenix, most certainly. Apollo, then how did he know? When did he see this bone china pate? Judge, oh, that's right. Phoenix, yes. That was when I began to see my good friend in a different light. Troubled, I returned to the crime scene, and when I spotted Mr. Smith's head again, I realized exactly what was wrong. Well, Mr. Gavin, the stage has been set. Perhaps you would like to explain this to the court. Exactly how did you come by your privileged knowledge of the victim's head? Kristoff, so this is your reason. The reason why you put the victim's hat back on. Phoenix, your point, Mr. Gavin? It's come down to this, has it? Phoenix, right. Judge. Order. I will have order, Mr. Payne. Yes, Your Honor. I believe this court has been left with no other choice. Are you prepared to hear defense attorney Gavin's testimony? Yes, I guess. Very well. We break for 10 minutes, after which Mr. Gavin will take the stand for cross-examination. Are we all clear on that? Crystal clear, Your Honor. Very well. This will be the final recess for the day. Mr. Gavin and Mr. Wright are both in the judge's chamber. Who would have thought today would turn out like this? May I? It's his daughter. Phoenix's daughter. She's so cute. Hello, sir. Please pick a card. What's all this about? Is this one okay? Excellent. I have a message for you. The last hand is about to be played. You'll need a trump card to make it. A trump card? The card you have chosen is magical. Use it wisely, and the game is yours. That's all. Oh. Wait. Hold on. This one. Dripping back. So from here, it looks like the person in front of the table hit him on the head and then the blood dripped back. However, in this picture, the victim's hand is missing that third ace. And that ace had blood on it. So either his head was facing the other direction or the chair was turned around. And when his head was tilted back then, it dripped back. Yeah, it has to be that then, right? Remembering Olga's testimony. Yeah, the 5 aces. The 5th ace. Yep. The missing 5th ace. Wait, the splotch of red. Is this blood? Yeah, I think it is. I think you have your trump card. Now it's up to you to cut the deck and draw the truth. My father's fate is in your hands. I know you can do it. This is the trump card. But how... So I'm gonna have to remember that some way, somehow, the chair that the victim was in was turned around. That girl. I'd seen her recently. But where? That's when I made the connection. The locket. Yeah. So cute. I like her in the pink a little better than the blue, I think. I'm not sure. Okay, let's get back to it. So it's kind of nice because in the Apollo Justice games, you can actually see the characters' faces, whereas in the Phoenix Wright games, they're just kind of like shadowed, but no like real eyes or features or anything. April 20th, 2:45 p.m., District Court, Courtroom Number 2. Court will now reconvene. Defense Attorney Christoph Gavin, will you please take the stand? Hey, boss. Now then, if you would, Mr. Payne. Payne. Yes, Your Honor. Will the witness state his name and occupation? Christoph, is this farce really necessary, Your Honor? Believe me, far stranger things have gone on in this courtroom. Christoph. Fine, I'll play along. First, there's one thing we need to have made clear. How did you know about the secret beneath the victim's hat? My secret? Said Apollo. Thought Apollo. I'm guessing he means the fact that Mr. Smith was bald. Forgive my curiosity, but what is it about this fellow's head? Your Honor seems to have an inordinate interest in it. Objection! Uh-oh. Phoenix is on my side now? How the heck did that happen? I wouldn't call it inordinate, Mr. Gavin. Mr. Wright. Christoph, what do you think you're doing right? Phoenix. Wow, things sure look different from the other side. You know what I mean, Apollo? Speaking of looking from the other side, let's consider something for a second. The victim wore that hat all night, never once taking it off except for that one time. That one time being the instant he was hit. Oh. Apollo. When Mr. Wright returned from reporting the crime, the hat was lying on the floor. Mr. Wright picked it up and placed it on the victim's head. In other words, in order to have seen Mr. Smith's bald head, you would have had to have been there in the hideout at the time of the crime. Christoph, in other words, I must be the real killer. Is that what you're trying to say? Phoenix, not bad, Apollo. It's so good to see Nick back up there. Christoph. Judge, Mr. Gavin? Christoph, I'm afraid that I haven't been entirely honest with the court. Payne. What? Christoph. Oh, I assure you, I had the noblest of intentions. I did it all to protect my client, Mr. Wright. Oh no, he's taking this route. Yet I'm afraid in the current situation I see little reason to hide anything. Very well, allow me to tell you the truth of what happened that night. I don't know if it's going to be the truth or not, but okay. Judge, finally, you may begin your testimony. Tell us how were you involved in the events of that fateful night? Witness testimony. The faithful night. The rage I sensed in that man that night troubled me, so I returned to the club. I went down to the basement and peeked in through the little window to the hideout. It must have been right after the murder took place. The victim was dead, as he appears in the photo. A bald head, an unconscious girl, and Wright holding a bottle in his hand. I sensed that was not the best place for me to be at the time, so I left. That's when the call came from Wright. Payne, so you witnessed the murder? For better or for worse, I missed the actual moment of the deed. Oh, yep. That we are the defense team. Well, it's advantagement to our client, but he's also trying to protect his own butt. I'm standing on the witness stand after all. So you are, Mr. Gavin. Phoenix. And you had to testify as you just did. You had to tell them you saw the scene of the crime through that little window. Mr. Wright? Phoenix, you had to say that, because that was the only probable window of opportunity. Right, Apollo? Oh. Mr. Wright, the defense should do the cross-examination, not the defendant. Mr. Justice, are you prepared? Yes, Your Honor. Can't believe I'm going up against Mr. Gavin. This trial is getting weirder and weirder. rage I sensed in that man the night troubled me. Okay. That man, you mean Mr. Smith. Kristoff, he was different from the other customers. His aura, shall we say. I knew he was a serious poker player, but it was more than that. Payne, so then you knew the true nature of your client's job. Of course, but I also knew he wasn't engaged in gambling, which would be illegal. Apollo, well, it makes sense that he'd know. They were friends, after all. Kristoff, worried for my friend, I returned to the club. See, I feared this Mr. Smith might be someone coming to settle an old score. I see. What happened then? Went down to the basement and peeked through the little window to the hideout. This one, I believe. The little window. You mean the one used to keep watch up the stairs? Kristoff, yes, a relic of the ancient past. The black marketeers used it, I believe. Why did you go through the trouble of peeking in through the window? Wouldn't it have been easier to just open the door and go into the room? Kristoff, I didn't want to upset Wright, you see. Apollo, upset Mr. Wright? Kristoff, yes. What if my fears had been unfounded? I'd be walking in on their match. Bad form, to say the least. So far everything checks out. Potentially. Must have been right after the murder took place. How do you know it was right after the murder? Kristoff, really, no need to shout, Justice. Ugh. I was just getting to that part in my testimony. Ah, there he is, the coolest defense in the West we know and love. Even when you're standing up there on the witness stand, some things never change. Kristoff, I wasn't afraid you'd change too, right? But you haven't. You and that overbearing personality of yours. Apollo, with friends like these, who needs enemies? Kristoff, the victim was dead as he appears in the photo. By photo, you mean the second photograph of the crime scene. Precisely. You see, he wasn't wearing his hat then. I saw his head when he was dead, and then Mr. Wright came along and replaced his hat. Can you describe the scene of the crime for us? Apollo, those were the only three at the scene of the crime. Yes, as far as I saw, at least. Payne, then we're back where we started. The killer was the defendant, Phoenix Wright. Who else could it have been? But why didn't you talk to the police? Kristoff, 2 reasons. First, I didn't actually witness the very moment of the crime. Second, my office was asked to defend Mr. Wright. Even after seeing what I had seen, I couldn't abandon my friend. Apollo, there must have been someone else there at the moment of the crime. Kristoff, Justice, I just said I saw no one, not a soul. But, Apollo, that goes against what Mr. Wright said. Kristoff, ah yes, this mysterious 4th person. Who would conveniently be the real killer, I suppose? Phoenix, glad to see we agree, Mr. Gavin. Kristoff, tell me, what possible reason did the real killer have to swap cards in the victim's hand? Perhaps you can show us the reason why such a thing would be necessary. How can I show something I can't find myself? Remember, Apollo, the card that was swapped out was the 5th ace. The 5th ace. Right. Judge, well, Mr. Justice, the question of why the killer would swap out the card has been raised. Can you point to a reason? I can. The defense would like to present evidence to the court, evidence showing the reason why a card was swapped out. Then go ahead. Point out your reason, Mr. Justice. Can this even be used in a court of law? Apollo, my reason is, this. Is Payne. Is that an ace? Judge, why it's got blood on it. Right next to the spade. He's getting mad. Look at that twitch. Look at that fucking twitch. Excuse my language. Look at that freaking twitch. Payne, this is insane. Why wasn't I told about this? Why? Judge, could this be the missing fifth ace? Kristoff. Inconceivable. How could you? What are you doing with that card? Apollo. Well, that's the thing. It's just a fishy card from some fishy girl. Phoenix. Oh, that card? It's mine. That is, I picked it up at the Borscht Bowl Club that night after the murder had occurred. Gave it to my daughter. Cards are her stock in trade, after all. Kristoff. No, impossible, unacceptable. The court can't accept this evidence. It's a fraud. A fraud? Said Phoenix. How can you be so sure? Kristoff. What? I would think the only person who could claim it was a fraud would be the one who took the real card from the crime scene. The real killer. Phoenix. Allow me to elaborate. What if this trace of blood was the reason? Pain. The reason for the killer to take the card from the scene of the crime. Judge, where are you going with this? Phoenix, take another look at the photo and at the victim's head. The moment of the crime, his hat fell to the floor, and a trickle of blood ran from his forehead down the back of his head. Couldn't a drop of that blood have fallen on one of the cards? I suppose. The killer then took the card to hide the blood. Kristoff, regardless, that evidence is non-permissible. Phoenix, oh? Kristoff, right, regardless of how you wasted the last 7 years, you used to be a lawyer. You know what a serious crime it is to conceal evidence. Phoenix, oh, we can discuss the finer points of our legal system later. What's important now is I've answered your question. Kristoff, what are you talking about? Phoenix, you wanted to know why the killer would have taken a card from the crime scene. And now I've told you. That one drop of blood would have been decisive evidence, you see. Kristoff, this is baseless conjecture. Baseless. I just got the hot flashes. Phoenix in his element. Oh, I assured you, it's quite based. Kristoff, what? It's amazing, really. How a single drop of blood on a single card can lead us to the truth. It's quite simple. Well, Apollo? Yeah. Try picturing the scene of the crime. Try, of the crime in your head. Okay. Oh, wow, we get a nice 3D element here. How would he have even seen that? If it's here, there's a cabinet in the way. The murder took place in the hideout. The body of the luckless victim was found at the poker table. And before the killer swapped the card out, there was a single card with a drop of blood on it in the victim's hand. Given this, there's one decisive problem with this scene. Well, what is it? I think this is what I was talking about. I think I got it right. Whose position in this diagram doesn't fit? The victims, the killers, the witnesses. Second witnesses. Whose position doesn't fit? Okay. I wish I could just double click it, but I can't. Well, isn't it the victim's position that's the problem? I don't follow your logic here, Mr. Justice. Apollo. Well, look, the victim was struck on the head, sending him back in his chair. You'd think any blood would fall behind the body, not onto the table in front of him. Take a look at the photo again. If he bled in this position, the blood would fall on the floor, not on the cards. Judge, why that's right. So what does this mean? Phoenix, incidentally, we were sitting in swivel chairs. Yes, as am I. Phoenix, I am swiveling right now. Oh, recreate the... what? Wait, what? What am I supposed to point out? History. Oh man, Apollo tried turning the chair around. Oh, okay. The chair was facing the other way around? Apollo. It would have to be. Apollo. So we have to assume that the victim's chair was facing away from the table. Judge, when Mr. Wright returned from informing the police, which way was the chair facing? When I came back to the room, the body was facing as seen in this photo. That would mean the killer turned the chair back round. Phoenix, let's take our next step. Look at the diagram once more. We know now that the victim was facing away from the table at the time of the murder, but this creates another significant contradiction. Let's test your reasoning skills again, shall we? Apollo, whose location on this diagram contradicts our new understanding of the crime. Victim, the killer, and the second witness. Second witness, right? Because you can't see. Because there's no line of sight. Meaning to say I don't make sense. Oh, no, of course you do, sir. Kristoff, as I thought. It wasn't right? Dang. Would you be kind enough to show the court one more time? Yes, please. This sheet, test your reasonings. Oh. Would be the killers. The victim was struck from the front, correct? Indeed. Well, wouldn't it be hard for the killer to hit him from the front? Sitting where his indicator currently is? I would think it'd be quite hard, yes. Pain? Yes, but what you're saying makes no sense. Why would the victim suddenly turn to face the wall? In the middle of a game? Phoenix, I believe a sufficient reason will soon come to light. There's something in this diagram that makes far less sense, actually. Look again at the diagram. Apollo, if the victim was struck while he was sitting as shown here, where would his assailant be standing? Try marking it on the diagram. What? There's no room. Well, that cabinet, I guess. Don't worry, let's think it through and see what we find. We know the victim was facing towards the wall at the time of the crime. That's the only thing we know for sure. Try to forget about everything else. Where would the killer have to be standing? There, right? Maybe there's more of the hideaway things other than that window. The killer had to be standing, well, here. Pain. You get points for flair, but that's about all you get. I thought I was onto something. Pain. I hardly need to point out that standing there would be impossible. The victim was facing a solid cupboard. Or are you claiming that the killer climbed the cupboard and hid him from above? Ha. It's simple logic, really, said Phoenix. If this was the only place the killer could have been standing, then that means that, at that very moment of the crime... Apollo, wait, I know. The moment of the crime, the cupboard wasn't there. Judge, what's this now? Phoenix, I mean, that's the only explanation, right, Mr. Gavin? Phoenix, Your Honor, I have a suggestion for the defense. We should arrange to examine the cupboard and the hideout immediately. Judge, bailiff, send a team to the crime scene immediately. Have them try to move the cupboard. Phoenix, Your Honor? Judge, what? There's one more thing your men should look for. Please give this to the bailiff. Yes. I see. You do belong in the courtroom after all, Mr. Wright. I do my best. What was the letter? Phoenix, but let's forge ahead here while we wait. Look at the diagram once again. It's been changed. The killer was standing here at the time of the crime. And this cupboard wasn't here, which means... Apollo, try moving the cupboard. The window would have been blocked. Phoenix, as you can see, the cupboard was the problem. At the time of the murder, it has to have been as shown here. Now everything is in place to reconstruct the moment of the crime. Oh my! What's this? Judge, what is it now? Look at the diagram of the crime scene once more. It appears we found yet... Oh my god, another contradiction. Excuse me. What I believe to be the final contradiction, in fact. Notice something, Apollo? Our line of deduction is rapidly approaching its logical conclusion. Judge, now then, Mr. Justice, please point to the new contradicting indicator. Is it the victim, the killer, the witness, the second witness? Which indicator in this diagram contradicts what we know. About this cupboard, are we all okay with assuming it was moved? Phoenix, sure, why not? Apollo, well, if it was, something really doesn't fit. The cupboard would completely cover up the window to the stairs. That's right, someone standing outside wouldn't be able to see in. Someone like Mr. Gavin. Kristoff, what? What did you say? He's all twitchy again. Phoenix, oh, is the coolest defense in the West losing his cool? Kristoff, don't expect me to play along with your little games, right? Phoenix, it's only a game until someone gets killed, Mr. Gavin. And someone was, while the window to that room was blocked by a cupboard. Smartass. Phoenix, so Mr. Gavin, perhaps you'd like to explain to the court exactly where did you witness the crime scene from? Bailiff, excuse me, Your Honor. Judge, order. This is a court of law and I will have order. Bailiff, we just now received word from the investigative team at the Borscht Bowl Club. They examined the cupboard in the hideout, Your Honor. And what did they find? Well, Your Honor, turns out there's a secret passage behind it. Ooh. Phoenix, ah yes, I believe I mentioned something of the sort before. This is one of the tricks to the room many of our regulars know about. I do remember him saying something about that. Phoenix, a secret passage is a handy thing to have when you're engaged in illegal goings-on. Never know when you might need to duck away from the eyes of the law. Apollo, so the room has a secret passage. Where does it go? Phoenix, the other side connects to the restaurant above. The underworld bosses could get away from the cops and enjoy a cold bowl of borscht, no doubt. Just like our killer. Stuff's about to go down. I think Kristoff's gonna explode. Phoenix, you see where our line of simple deduction reasoning has led us, Apollo. I see it, but I don't believe it. That girl wasn't kidding when she said I needed this trump card for the last hand. Apollo, at the time of the murder, the window was blocked, and the victim's hat was only off his head for the few minutes between Mr. Smith's murder and Mr. Wright's return from calling the cops. In other words, the only place anyone could have seen the victim's bald head was from inside the hideout. Well, Mr. Gavin? Judge, dare I ask what really happened that night? Apollo, actually, I think we can probably figure it out ourselves at this point. That night, for whatever reason, our killer had a date with Mr. Smith. A date with destiny. There he crouched, hidden in the secret passageway behind the cupboard, holding his breath, waiting for just the right moment. Then the chance came, and he took it. It's getting exciting. Okay, so that last part was Phoenix. Apollo. Miss Olga Orley was out cold, struck by Mr. Smith. But his time was soon to come. Mr. Wright went upstairs to call the cops, leaving Mr. Shady Smith alone in the hideout with the unconscious dealer. Apollo. Then our killer stepped out from the secret passage and into the hideout. The victim must have heard the cupboard sliding aside. He wheeled his chair around to look, and wham bam, thank you ma'am. After the deed was done, the criminal must have seen the blood on the card. He would have, of course, realized the need to destroy the evidence. That single spot of blood told the whole story of the crime. Too bad for him, he didn't linger any longer in the hideout that night. If he had, he might have noticed the cards on the floor, and the fact that they were all red. I wonder if Kristoff's going to try to, still somehow pin this on Wright. I don't... Well, it seems this trial has taken yet another turn. I'm truly, truly sorry I had to see this day come, Mr. Gavin. Apollo. Mr. Gavin? The prosecution will continue this investigation. As for Mr. Phoenix Wright, the defendant, he is hereby cleared of all suspicion. Believe me when I say that I don't believe this is happening, Mr. Gavin. But I'm afraid circumstances call for me to issue a warrant for your arrest immediately. Kristoff. Oh, no need to apologize. I rather enjoyed myself. It's not every day you get to witness a legendary attorney's dirty tactics firsthand. Phoenix, your point, Mr. Gavin. Kristoff. Frankly, Your Honor, I'm shocked that a person of your caliber would be taken in by such low-grade parlor trick. Excuse me? The defendant is cleared of all suspicion. This is hardly the time for jokes, Your Honor. Mr. Wright hasn't proven anyone's guilt or innocence here. What he has done is use illegal evidence to put the blame on someone else. And not just anyone else, but me, his own defense attorney. Well, you're not his defense attorney. I'm his defense attorney. Objection! Phoenix, let me ask you, Mr. Gavin. Is there still any reason at present to suspect me of wrongdoing? Kristoff, of course. This bottle, for instance. Apollo, the bottle of grape juice Mr. Wright was drinking? Kristoff, how do you intend to explain away the fingerprints on the murder weapon? And not just any fingerprints, am I right, Mr. Payne? Mr. Payne, actually, yes. The fingerprints on the bottle were upside down. I seem to recall this being an issue earlier. But I think it can be explained away. I can think of only one reason why one would hold the bottle upside down, and that is to hit someone with the bottom of the bottle. Not necessarily. Phoenix, see how the caught fish squirms to the last. Well, Apollo? Your boss seems awfully concerned about this bottle still, but I'm sure you can come up with a suitable explanation. Just like that. Yeah. Why would anyone grab a bottle upside down other than to gulp? Don't let him trick you into thinking his explanation is the only legitimate one. I think there is another. Take another look at the court record. I believe you'll find a simple answer there. In plain sight. How about you just say the answer in plain words? Please and thank you. It would be hasty to deliver a verdict without unanswered questions, indeed. Well, Mr. Justice, Mr. Gavin said the court in this case demand an explanation. Don't worry, justice won't leave until justice is done. Perhaps the defense would like to enlighten the courts. Okay. I think it's this one. In my mind, I'm thinking he's sitting there, and if he reached down to grab the bottle, he wouldn't grab it by the base. He'd grab it by the closest thing, which would be the neck of the bottle. Apollo, it's actually easier to show you than explain, Your Honor. Place that bottle on the floor next to your chair. Judge, excuse me? On the floor? Yes. Now reach down and pick it up, without getting out of your chair. See? You naturally go to pick up the bottle by its neck. With your fingers upside down. Look at this photograph taken on the night of the murder. The defendant, Mr. Wright, sat there, playing piano, bottles of grape juice on the floor to the side of the piano bench. He would have naturally picked up the bottles upside down several times. Judge, well, I can't believe it was that simple. Phoenix, recall our dinner that evening, Kristoff. I was drinking my usual juice then, too. Apollo, basically you used the bottle on the table to do the deed. But then you must have remembered. So you went and picked up one of the bottles from under the piano. You switched the bottles. You took one of Mr. Wright's bottles and made it look like the murder weapon. Order, order, order. What do you have to say to these charges, Mr. Gavin? Fascinating. So this is the legendary attorney's famed tactic of misdirection. What? Kristoff, you claim that I switched the bottle. Where's your proof? Proof? Well, that's, as I thought, more baseless conjecture. I'm afraid your bottle of proof is quite empty. Phoenix, I wouldn't be so sure about that. Phoenix, Your Honor, when you initiated the investigation of the hideout earlier, do you recall I requested an additional investigation? Judge, yes, I have your memo about that here. Retrieve the bottles from under the piano at the Borscht Bowl Club. And here's one of the bottles in question. Kristoff, what are you going to dust that for fingerprints too? I would be surprised if any were on that but his. That bottle won't bear a trace of anything. Apollo. Yes. Phoenix, why don't you go ahead and examine that bottle? But why? Phoenix, just humor me. Mr. Wright. Phoenix, that bottle will solve this case once and for all. Apollo, what? That's some bottle. There's a card in it. Oh! It's the 5 of Hearts. Oh, crud. Screw, 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 screw. Oh, that's the extra card. Kristoff, that card, it can't be. Phoenix, recall that unpleasant woman's testimony for a moment. Miss Olga Orly? Phoenix, yes, our little swindling Devolchka. Olga, that night I planted the card like I was supposed to, and Wright lost the last hand just like he was supposed to. Then Smith searched him, but the planted card was gone. The trap had failed. Apollo, wait, this isn't... You're telling me that this is the planted card you disposed of? The one you mentioned in this piece of testimony? Yeah, it has to be. That he found it in his pocket and he put it in a bottle. But it wasn't the bottle that we had. There was an empty bottle of grape juice I had been drinking right beside me. I threw the card inside the bottle. The 5 of Hearts. This is the card. The bottles were swapped. And the only one who could have done that was the 4th person in the club that night. You, Mr. Kristoff Gavin. Ooh. Uh-oh. Earthquake? Oh. What the? Ooh, lobster. But why is there lobster when she's serving borscht? Mm. 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 That is all. Oof. Uh-oh. Kristoff, is this your idea of revenge? Phoenix, right? Revenge? Revenge for the events that took away your attorney's badge 7 years ago. Phoenix, my past is like my logic. Straight and true. Nothing's changed. All I did was point the finger of justice in the proper direction. As he goes and physically like twists justice. Apollo. Kristoff, fine. I'm glad we could have this little tete-a-tete, right? This is insane. No pain. You don't get anything. As it should be. I believe this time we've finally come to the end of our trial. Mr. Payne, do you have a report for us on Kristoff Gavin? He's admitted to everything. We're in the process of his arrest now. Judge, I see. Still, one has to wonder why he would do such a thing. He didn't even have a connection to the victim, did he? None that we know of. Mr. Wright, have you anything to add? Phoenix, I'm afraid I can't shed any more light on the matter. Judge, about this victim, Mr. Shady Smith. His occupation was listed as traveler. An odd profession to be sure, and that's all we know about him. Payne, I'll arrange for a follow-up investigation, Your Honor. Judge, good. Mr. Wright? Phoenix, yes? 7 years and you still haven't lost your touch. Kristoff Gavin was a man with much significance for me, both as a friend and a lawyer. He was extremely talented, to be sure. I needed 2 things before I could confront him. First was a place where no injustice would be tolerated, this courtroom. The second was a man who would tolerate no injustice. In other words, a defense attorney, you, Apollo. This is a dark time for our legal system, a twisting of justice brought on by our very own initial trial system. We have to set it right. Our work lies ahead of us, and I, for one, am looking forward to it. Judge, well, this seems like a good time to announce a verdict. This court finds the defendant, Mr. Phoenix Wright, not guilty. Yeah. Confetti, yay! Yay, confetti, yay! Look at those flip-flops. Or are they slides? I can't really tell. Court's adjourned. We did it. We did it. So next time we will finish off the little bit that's left of this case and we will move on to our next one. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you later.